Okay, so this is how to make a rim lock tray. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Okay, so we draw our lines, right? And 1 or 2 mil. Usually I soak this in water just so the wax doesn't stick. So just gonna melt the wax. I'm using like a camping torch, but I want the wax to be a light pink. Keep that in mind, a light pink, because you need it to have it very flexible. Now, just gonna lay it on there. Actually, try to keep it transparent if you can, close to it, if that makes sense. Just so you could see your line. I just did mine Sharpie. Now notice how I didn't cut it, right? That's your spacing. You can kind of see the line. Now, sometimes I see people, they pre-cut it, right? And then they put another layer and then they pre-cut it. Don't do that. Because what happens is, say you put your VLC material and you cut it exact. When it comes time when you have to trim it and you have to round it out because it's going to be a sharp edge, you're going to lose that 1 to 2 millimeter rim lock, if that makes sense, right? You're going to lose that because you're rounding it out, you're taking off material. So what I like to do is I'll do my first layer. That. Nice and pink. And then I'll just match it up to the bottom of where that 1 to 2 is. I'll pull it over like that. Right. Yeah, so. Well, it's a little bit hard to see, but you can kind of just peel up and freestyle it a bit. You can kind of keep checking if you need to. We can adjust it after. Try to get most of the bulk off. Yeah, this is how I do it. You don't have to do it this way. This is just what works for me. There. Okay, so now I'm just gonna fine tune it, and I'm going by the edge here. I can kind of see it. That's why I tell you to kind of really heat up the wax and make it almost translucent, so you can kind of see where it might be. I mean, if anything, if you really can't see, you can kind of just peel it up. And okay, so it looks like I have a lot to go. I'll cut way more than I need to. Alright, and it's okay if you overcut it. Right? It's better to have more rim lock than less, right? Because the whole goal is, see, there's my rim lock, 2 mil. You can kind of even push it down if you cut too much, or you can add a little bit of wax, and then just kind of, cut it and shape it. If that makes sense. Overcut it. Okay, so I'm gonna go deep. Some of that. Quickly check. A little bit more. There is your rim lock. I noticed a lot of people, or a lot of students, had trouble with this when I was teaching there, and this is what I just kind of show them, because when you look, when you lay your VLC over, you're gonna squish it in there, right? So you're gonna have like a thick rim lock, and that's fine. It's easier to trim back than it is to like kind of have it precise to what she wants, and then kind of round it out, right? Because like if at least you have more leeway, just in case if you mess up, right? And then you can even like say after when it's cured, you have like kind of a long rim lock, right? And because you can cut it after, like say, some VLC here from yesterday. Say you put your VLC, right? Your rim lock's there. It's okay to have a little bit of a length. You obviously don't want it too much because then you'll lock you'll lock it into the model, and then that's a lot to trim, right? So just kind of make it like 5 mils. Why not, right? And then after, you could just like kind of, when it's dry and cured, you can cut it back. So you can mark it off with a pencil, and then take your burr and then trim it back to that 2 mils, right? You can extend up to 4 mils if you want, or whatever you're comfortable with, right? But it's easier to have it more than less, if that makes sense, right? And then they tell you to put tin foil on top, right? I actually don't do that. I just put Vaseline, and then I lay the VLC on top, and then when you put it into the light cure machine, it heats up, and the second when it heats up and it's like done, take it out. You should be able to just pull this off clean. I've seen students where they're like scraping off the tin foil and off the VLC, and it's just time consuming, right? You could totally do it without it, right? And say that there's wax melted onto it. Well, you could just take some boiling water if you have, or it's easier to scrape off wax than tin foil, or you could just grind it off with a burr. So yeah, that's it. That's how I do my rim locks, right? Like I said, you don't have to it's okay if you go a little bit further, right? Like say you cut too much, right? Your rim lock is right here, and you cut too much, just heat up some wax, add over it, right? It's kind of really crappy, but you kind of get the idea. You can even go as fancy as melting it in there, right? For the sake of the example, I'll melt it in there, and then just redo it again, right? Redo it to the actual length. Because you're at the wax part, you can always redo it, right? And then, because it doesn't really matter, it's going to be on the other side. No one's really going to see it. All Dr. Swain is looking for is your rim lock, right? And yeah, I'm not too sure if you guys do perforated holes, but you can. And then, yeah, say for a space like this, you can kind of push it in or whatever. Sometimes I fill it, whatever you got to do, all right? But yeah, that's my rim lock.